Ryan and Marcus started at the exact same company, on the exact same day, making the exact same salary, $70,000 a year. 12 years later, one of them owns a house free and clear. The other one is still asking his landlord for a few more days to pay rent. Same paycheck, same city, same job title. So what actually happened between them? Here's the thing nobody wants to admit. We like to believe money problems come from not earning enough. Get the raise, get the promotion, get the better job, and everything sorts itself out. But Ryan and Marcus proved that theory wrong in the most uncomfortable way possible, because they had the same income the entire time. The gap between them wasn't built by one bad decision or one lucky break. It was built by something much smaller and much harder to notice. The stuff that happened every single week for 12 years while nobody was paying attention. Age 25, first real job out of college, junior analyst position at a mid-sized logistics firm in Ohio. Ryan gets his first paycheck and feels like he made it. He signs a lease on a one-bedroom apartment downtown, nicer than he needs, but he tells himself he's young. He works hard, he deserves it. He leases a car instead of buying used. Weekends are for going out with friends from work, and honestly, why not? He's earning good money now. Marcus takes the same paycheck home. He rents a smaller place across town, buys a 7-year-old Honda with cash, and sets up one thing before he does anything else: an automatic transfer of $200 into an investment account timed for the day after payday. Neither of them talks about it. Neither of them thinks it's a big deal. That's the part that makes this story so unsettling. Nothing dramatic happened in year one. No crisis, no windfall, just two slightly different starting habits. By year 3, Ryan gets a raise, $78,000 now. He upgrades his apartments, new couch, better TV, a few more dinners out, because, well, he can afford it. Marcus gets the same raise. He keeps the same apartment. He bumps his automatic transfer from $200 to $300 a month and doesn't think about it again. By year 5, something starts happening that neither of them planned for. Ryan's credit card balance, which used to clear every month, starts carrying over. Not a lot, maybe $400 here, $600 there. He tells himself he'll pay it off next month. Some months he does. Most months, something else comes up first. Marcus's investment account crosses $18,000. He barely notices. It's just a number on an app he checks maybe once a season. By year 8, both of them are earning around $95,000 a year. On paper, they look successful. Two guys in their early 30s with solid 6-figure adjacent salaries. But here's where the story splits wide open. Let's actually look at what happened year by year, because this is where the lesson lives. Ryan's expenses grew almost exactly in step with his income. Every raise came with an upgrade attached to it: a better apartment, a newer car lease, a nicer vacation. His savings rate, when you calculate it honestly, hovered around 2%. Some years it was negative because the credit card carried a balance that quietly grew interest month after month. Marcus never made a dramatic sacrifice. He still went out with friends, he still took a vacation every year, but his savings rate held steady around 18% because that transfer happened automatically before he ever saw the money in his checking account. Here's the number that matters most. At an average return of 7% a year, Marcus's contributions, growing slightly with every raise, exactly like Ryan's spending did, reached a little over $210,000 by year 12. Ryan's 12 years produced almost nothing. Worse, he was carrying about $9,000 in credit card debt by that point, quietly accumulating interest at over 20% a year. $210,000 on one side, negative $9,000 on the other. Same salary every single year. Here's what makes this story hard to sit with. If you'd asked Ryan at any point during those 12 years whether he was making a bad decision, he would have said no. Every individual choice felt reasonable: a slightly nicer apartment, one more dinner out, a car that felt safer and more comfortable for his commute. None of it looked like the moment where everything went wrong, because there wasn't one moment. That's the twist. We wait for the big money mistake, the one dramatic decision we'll regret. But Ryan's story shows something scarier. The damage wasn't done by a mistake at all. It was done by hundreds of decisions that each felt completely fine on their own. Marcus, on the other hand, never felt like he was doing anything special. He didn't think of himself as disciplined. He just made one decision early. Automate the saving before you can spend it, and then let 12 years of raises and time do the rest of the work without needing his attention. The lesson here isn't that Ryan is careless or that Marcus is some kind of financial genius. It's simpler and honestly more unsettling than that. Income was never the variable that separated them. The gap was built entirely by what happened to the money after it landed in their accounts, and by how much of that process was automatic versus how much depended on willpower they had to use every single week. Willpower runs out. Automation doesn't. That's really the whole story. Two people can earn the exact same amount of money for an entire decade and end up living in two completely different worlds. The difference was never how much they made, it was what they built into the system before they had the chance to spend it. If this made you think about your own paycheck, that's the point of telling it. Because sometimes getting better with money isn't about making more. It's about changing what happens to the money you already make. If you want more real financial stories like this, stay with us. Subscribe to the channel and keep watching, because the next lesson might change the way you look at your money.